There is a power so profound, yet so overlooked, that most of humanity walks past it every day without ever noticing. It is the power of stillness, the power of resting in the unseen, the power of doing absolutely nothing, yet receiving everything you once chased. This is not laziness. This is not avoidance. This is the highest form of creative mastery, the state where your inner world becomes the architect of your outer world. When you learn how to do nothing, you discover how effortlessly life can obey you. For centuries, people have been conditioned to believe that results come only from struggle, from pushing, from exhausting themselves into collapse. But the universe does not respond to exhaustion. It responds to clarity. It responds to the inner movement of conviction. It responds to the one who withdraws from the frantic noise of the world and sinks into the certainty of what already exists within. Doing nothing is not passive. It is the act of withdrawing your attention from conditions, from appearances, from doubts, from fears, until only your chosen assumption remains. To do nothing means to stop feeding the problem and begin feeding the reality you desire. Everything begins in the unseen. Every event, every encounter, every opportunity, every form of abundance, every healing, before it appeared in the world, it was first born in the invisible realm of imagination. When you understand this, you stop trying to change the world physically and start changing the cause behind the world mentally. You realize that to receive everything, you must first learn how to rest in the feeling of already having it. The outer world is only an echo, and the echo cannot appear until the sound is created. You are the creator of the sound. Your imagination is that sound. Your assumption is that sound. Your feeling of already being, having, or doing the thing you desire is that sound. When the sound is formed within, the echo comes automatically with no physical strain, no forcing, no struggle. This is why doing nothing is more powerful than doing everything. When you do nothing, you are not inactive. You are inwardly active in the most precise and potent way. You become the director of the unseen sea. You no longer try to fix the world. You simply decide what the world must reflect. You no longer fight circumstances. You simply choose the state from which you operate. You no longer chase outcomes. You allow outcomes to chase you. Life becomes reversed. Instead of running toward your desires, you allow your desires to run toward you. The moment you claim them internally, they begin moving toward you externally. There is a divine ease that emerges when you stop trying to force manifestation and simply rest in the fulfilled state. The fulfilled state is not a wish, not a hope, not a maybe. It is the felt conviction that what you want is already done. When you enter this state, you stop looking for signs. You stop asking when it will happen. You stop worrying about the how, the where, the who. These concerns belong to the world of effort. You are operating from the world of being. And being is effortless. Being requires no strain. Being is your natural condition. Imagine sitting quietly and knowing that what you desire is already yours. Imagine the calmness that would fill your chest, the soft, steady breath that would move through your body, the peace that would wash over your mind. That peace is the creative act. That peace is the command. That peace is what shapes the future. Every time you sink into that peace and feel the reality of your desire as though it were already accomplished, you are doing more than any amount of physical action could ever achieve. You are engaging with the root. You are rewriting the script. You are becoming the author instead of the actor who merely reacts. Doing nothing means withdrawing your senses from the external world and returning to the inner world, the only place where true creation happens. You no longer give your power away to circumstances. You no longer respond to the world. You instruct it. You no longer beg life to change. You assume the change within and allow life to follow. The moment you understand this, everything becomes simple. Life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are the projector, not the screen. When you stop fiddling with the screen and start adjusting the projector, everything transforms without effort. People chase success, but success is a state. People chase love, but love is a state. People chase money, but money is a state. People chase opportunities, but opportunities are states. Every state is available to you right now, and you can enter any of them by simply assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you assume a state fully, your world rearranges itself to match it. This rearrangement may look like coincidence, luck, timing, synchronicity, or divine orchestration, but it is none of those things. It is law. The most powerful individuals in history were not the ones who worked the hardest. They were the ones who used the invisible laws, whether consciously or unconsciously. They were the ones who felt themselves to be great before the world ever recognized their greatness. They were the ones who lived in the feeling of already being the person they wished to be. They knew how to enter the silence, how to retreat into imagination, how to assume the end so completely that the end had no choice but to take physical form. Doing nothing does not mean sitting passively with an empty mind. It means entering the deep inner stillness in which the imagination becomes the only reality. It means living from the end so completely that the world bends to your inner certainty. It means refusing to react to appearances, because appearances are only old reflections that have not yet caught up to your new state. It means resting in the truth that what you desire is already yours, even before your senses confirm it. This resting, this inner relaxation, is the creative power. The world will call this madness, delusion, fantasy. That is because the world believes that only physical effort produces results. But you have seen people who work tirelessly and still fail. You'll see people who do everything right and still struggle. And you've also seen people who seem to glide through life, attracting opportunities effortlessly, receiving blessings they didn't chase, rising without strain. How? Not through effort, but through alignment. Not through labor, but through state of consciousness. They have learned the secret of doing nothing externally while doing everything internally. Your inner world is the cause. Your outer world is the effect. The majority live backwards, trying to change the effect rather than the cause. They move things around on the surface while ignoring the depths. But when you work with the depths, the surface rearranges itself automatically. When you stop trying to change the world through force and begin changing your inner assumptions, the world must conform. It has no choice. It is law. There is an art to doing nothing. It is the art of relaxing into your new identity. You do not force yourself into the feeling. You gently surrender to it. You let the feeling wash over you softly, naturally, as though it were the most obvious truth in the world. The more effortless it feels, the more powerful it becomes. The moment you stop trying to manifest is the moment manifestation happens. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you are found. The moment you stop forcing is the moment life begins to flow. Consider how nature creates. Does the seed strain to become a tree? Does the sun force itself to rise? Does the tide push against the shore? Everything in nature unfolds with ease, grace, and inevitability. Creation is effortless. Only humans have been trained to believe that struggle is necessary. But the truth is that struggle is only necessary when imagination is misused. Struggle is what happens when you try to achieve through action what you have not yet claimed through assumption. When you assume the result inwardly, action becomes inspired, limited, and often minimal. The universe fills in all the missing steps. When you desire something, you have two choices. You could chase it or you can become it. Chasing is exhausting. Becoming is effortless. Chasing produces anxiety. Becoming produces certainty. Chasing forces life. Becoming attracts life. When you become internally what you desire externally, the world mirrors you with exact precision. Doing nothing is the act of becoming. Quietly, inwardly, decisively. You must learn to sit in the silence and ask yourself, if this desire were already mine, how would I feel right now? What would my inner dialogue sound like? How would my body relax? How would my breath move? What would my world look like? How would I perceive myself? The moment you embody these answers, even for a few seconds, you ignite the creative process. Those few seconds of conviction contain more power than hours of frantic effort. The inner world does not require time. The moment you assume a state, you become it. Time is only needed for the outer world to catch you. But the transition is already complete within you. This is why doing nothing is so powerful, because it bypasses the physical realm and operates directly in the realm of cause. When you change the cause, the effect must change. It is inevitable. People often ask, if I stop acting, won't nothing happen? And the answer is simple. When you rest in the fulfilled state, actions will arise naturally, actions that are aligned, minimal, and effortless. You will be moved from within. You will find yourself doing exactly what is needed without effort, without doubt, without confusion. You will think you are taking small steps, but those steps will lead to extraordinary outcomes because they are taken from a state of already having, not from a state of lack. The power of doing nothing is the power of trusting the unseen more than the seen. It is the power of believing the inner world more than the outer world. It is the power of resting in your assumption until it crystallizes into fact. You are not here to struggle your way into abundance, health, love, success. You are here to assume the state and allow the world to deliver its reflection. The world does not create you. Your state creates the world you experience. Everything you have ever manifested, good or bad, came effortlessly when you assumed it to be true. Think of the times you knew something would go wrong, and it did. Think of the times you felt certain something wonderful would happen, and it appeared with ease. The creative power never changes, only your direction of it changes. When you direct it consciously, you receive consciously. When you direct it unconsciously, you receive unconsciously. But either way, you are always receiving. You are always manifesting. You cannot stop creating. You can only stop creating consciously. The power of doing nothing brings you back into conscious creation. It brings you into awareness of your inner authority. It allows you to step out of the noise and return to the throne of your own imagination. It reminds you that you do not need to fight for what is already yours. If you desire it, it means it already exists for you. Your only task is to align with it internally. Everything else unfolds naturally. The world is a mirror. When you smile, it smiles. When you frown, it frowns. When you assume abundance, it brings abundance. When you assume love, it brings love. When you assume success, it brings success. There is no exception. The mirror has no power to initiate, it only reflects. When you do nothing externally and assume everything internally, the mirror reflects your chosen state with mathematical precision. So sit quietly, breathe softly. Allow the noise of the world to fade. Allow the opinions of others to fall away. Allow your doubts to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Enter the silence within, and from that silence, choose your state. Claim it, feel it, become it. Do not strain, do not force, do not try, simply be. The moment you feel the reality of your desire is natural, you have done enough. You have planted the seed. Now let the seed grow without digging it up to check its progress. Life will orchestrate itself in miraculous ways. People you have never met will move on your behalf. Circumstances you could never predict will align. Doors you didn't know existed will open. Opportunities will arrive uninvited. Solutions will appear without effort. This is the magic of doing nothing. This is the power of resting in the end. This is the secret that transforms your life from the inside out. When you understand this deeply, you will never chase again. You will never force again. You will never struggle again. You will simply choose the state, dwell in it, and allow the world to conform. And it will. It always does. Because you are the operant power. You are the dreamer of the dream. You are the cause behind every effect. Doing nothing is the most powerful something you will ever do. It is the purest form of creation. It is the gateway to receiving everything. When you master it, you will discover that life has always been ready to give you everything. You just needed to become still enough to receive it. You begin to realize that the only true labor in this world is the labor of selecting and sustaining an inner assumption. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is the shadow of that choice. When you shift your inner state, the world shifts with you, not by your command, but by its own nature. Existence is structured to reflect consciousness. This is why doing nothing is not laziness. It is alignment. It is the deliberate withdrawal from force so that the higher mechanism of creation can operate freely. There is a subtle beauty in the moment when you stop trying to be the creator through action and start being the creator through awareness. You no longer feel the need to manipulate circumstances, convince people, or plan endless strategies. You become the one who understands that the invisible is more powerful than the visible, that the silence is more potent than the noise, and that the feeling of certainty is stronger than 1,000 steps taken in doubt. You begin to trust the unseen currents that move beneath the surface of life, guiding everything into perfect orchestration the moment you align with the end you desire. Doing nothing is often the hardest thing for the human mind, because it contradicts everything you have been taught. You are taught to hustle, to grind, to compete, to take massive action. You were conditioned to believe that if you stop moving, your life will collapse. But in truth, It is the frantic motion of an unaligned mind that creates collapse. It is the inner R, restlessness, of panic-born strategies, the fear-driven action that produces exhaustion but not fulfillment. When you stop acting from lack and begin acting from fulfillment, everything changes. When you no longer act to get, but act because you have already received inwardly, your movements become light, joyful, effortless, and magnetic. The great misunderstanding is that action produces results. Action does not produce anything except the arrangement of what has already been accepted within. The inner acceptance is the cause. Action is merely the bridge. When you assume your desire is real, the bridge of action appears naturally. You do not need to build it, it builds itself. You find yourself moved, nudged, inspired, guided without strain or force. You take steps that feel natural, not panic-driven. You make decisions out of clarity, not fear. This is what it means to be moved from within, rather than pushed from without. When you do nothing outwardly while assuming everything inwardly, you engage in the purest form of creation. You become the still point around which your world reorganizes itself. People sense your shift without knowing why. Opportunities gravitate toward you without your pursuit. Situations change in ways that seem impossible. It is not magic, it is law. The outer world must obey the inner state, just as the reflection in a mirror must obey the one standing before it. When you change your inner posture, the world reflects it with flawless precision. To do nothing does not mean to become idle or indifferent. It means to stop interfering with the perfect unfolding of your chosen reality. It means to stop contradicting your desire through worry, doubt, or fear. It means to remain faithful to the unseen truth long enough for it to solidify into form. It means allowing life to move freely without you grabbing the reins every few seconds out of panic. The more you trust the invisible, the faster the visible rearranges itself. The power of doing nothing emerges most strongly when you realize that your imagination is already creating 24 hours a day. You cannot stop imagining. You can only stop imagining unconsciously. The thoughts you repeat, the scenes you rehearse, the emotions you dwell in, these are all acts of imagination. Most people imagine their fears more vividly than their desires. They replay past disappointments. They anticipate future struggles. They internalize stories of failure. And then they wonder why life reflects the very scenes they dread. When you take control of your imagination and direct it deliberately, doing nothing externally becomes the most potent state you can occupy. There is a point in your journey where you will discover the sublime joy of being internally fulfilled before the world gives you proof. This is true faith, not blind faith, but creative faith. A faith that knows the law is already operating, the seed is already planted, and the harvest is already guaranteed. In that state, your heart softens, your breath deepens, your mind quiets. You no longer scan your environment for evidence. You no longer chase validation. You are already satisfied because the satisfaction is happening inwardly. And because your satisfaction is internal, the external must conform. Imagine sitting quietly and feeling the warmth of abundance in your chest even before the money arrives. Imagine feeling the completeness of love even before the partner appears. Imagine feeling the confidence of success even before the victory manifests. These feelings are not fantasies. They are creative acts. They are the blueprint of what is to come. When you dwell in feelings like these, you are not escaping reality, you are shaping it. The world is merely catching up to the version of you that already exists internally. People often make the mistake of trying too hard to visualize, forcing themselves to see images clearly. But creation is not about clarity. It is about conviction. It is not about perfect pictures. It is about perfect feeling. The faintest inner sensation of fulfillment is more powerful than the most vivid visualization performed without belief. A soft whisper of certainty outweighs a loud declaration said with doubt. When you do nothing but rest in the felt reality of your desire, even lightly, you are performing the highest form of manifestation. There is a quiet revolution that happens inside you when you stop trying to make things happen and begin to allow them. Allowing is not passivity, it is inner authority. It is the recognition that what you desire is already yours in the unseen, and that the unseen is far more real than the seen. The unseen is cause, the seen is effect. The unseen is the seed, the seen is the fruit. You cannot eat the seed and expect nourishment. You must plant it, protect it, and allow it to grow. Doing nothing is the cultivation of the seed. The growth happens automatically. As you become more skilled in this art, you learn to rest in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even while the outer world appears unchanged. You recognize that the outer appearance is only an old manifestation, a fading echo of your former state. You no longer let it disturb you. You no longer give it meaning. You no longer react to it as though it holds power. Instead, you hold firm to the inner truth. You inhabit the new state so fully that the old world becomes irrelevant. And when the old world becomes irrelevant, it dissolves, not by force, but by neglect, not by struggle, but by replacement. The power of doing nothing becomes even more apparent when you stop arguing with life. You stop insisting that things should be different. You stop resisting what is. Resistance only strengthens what you oppose. What you fight, you feed. What you react to, you reinforce. When you stop reacting, you stop reinforcing the unwanted. The moment you withdraw your attention, the unwanted begins to fade. It loses power. It loses form. It loses the energy that was once sustaining it. It dies from starvation. And in that space, your chosen reality grows. Your desire expands. Your new state strengthens. This is the alchemy of attention. Whatever you feed with your focus grows. Whatever you starve with your indifference dies. Doing nothing is the art of starving the unwanted and feeding the desire, not through effort, but through focus, not through action, but through assumption. There will be moments in your journey when everything in the outer world contradicts your inner vision. These are the testing moments, not tests from the universe, but tests from your old self. The old state tries to pull you back with familiar feelings, worry, doubt, impatience. This is when doing nothing becomes your greatest strength. You do nothing in response to fear. You do nothing in response to doubt. You do nothing in response to negative appearances. You remain unmoved. You stay in the silence of your inner conviction. And when you remain still, the old state collapses. It cannot survive your indifference. There is a profound shift that takes place the moment you stop identifying with the person who is trying to change their life and begin identifying with the person who has already changed it. This identity shift is the essence of effortless manifestation. When you assume the identity of the one who already has what you desire, everything becomes simple. You no longer wonder how it will happen. You no longer worry about timing. You no longer chase outcomes. You already are who you want to be. And the world must reflect the state of being you occupy when you do nothing but embody the new identity. The world rearranges automatically. Identity is the strongest force. Action follows identity. Circumstances match identity. People interact with you based on identity. When you become the person who is already abundant, abundant opportunities appear. When you become the person who is already loved, love finds you. When you become the person who is already successful, success forms around you. Your identity is the magnet. Doing nothing is the process of settling into that identity fully, without contradiction. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, unmistakable, when the inner state becomes more real to you than the outer world. When this moment arrives, manifestation becomes effortless. You no longer oscillate between states. You no longer doubt. You no longer seek reassurance. You have entered the reality of your desire internally, and nothing outside of you can pull you out of it. In that state of unwavering inner conviction, creation becomes instantaneous on the unseen plane and inevitable on the seen plane. The longer you remain in this state of inner fulfillment, the shorter the path to external manifestation becomes. Time compresses, obstacles dissolve, coincidences multiply. You feel as though life itself is responding to your inner alignment with speed and precision, and it is. Life is not random, life is not chaotic. Life is orderly, life is obedient, life is reflective. It mirrors your dominant assumption with flawless accuracy. When you understand this deeply, you become free. You become calm. You become unshakable. You realize that nothing in the world can disturb you unless you permit it. Nothing can influence you unless you identify with it. Nothing can enter your experience unless it aligns with your inner state. You are the gatekeeper. You are the selector. You are the one who decides what enters your world. Doing nothing is the mastery of the selection. It is the quiet certainty that your inner world is the only world of cause. It is the profound knowing that your imagination is the blueprint of your destiny. It is the gentle confidence that the universe is already fulfilling your request the moment you assume the state of its fulfillment inwardly. You begin to see that effort, struggle, and force belong to the old paradigm of manifestation. They belong to those who believe the world is separate from them. But when you awaken to the truth that the world is you pushed out, effort becomes unnecessary. When you understand that creation begins and ends within, struggle becomes obsolete. When you realize that assumption is creation, you stop trying to make things happen and begin accepting that they already have. And in that acceptance, you receive effortlessly. And so, as you stand on the edge of this understanding, remember this: the world has never been waiting for your effort. It has been waiting for your alignment. Life has never demanded your struggle. It has only asked your assumption. Everything you desire is already alive within you, already unfolding in the unseen, already reaching toward you with a precision and intelligence far greater than anything you could construct through force. You do not need to exhaust yourself to receive what is already yours. You need only return to the stillness where creation truly happens. In that stillness, you reclaim your throne as the one who chooses the state, shapes the vision, and commands the unseen. In that stillness, you step into the reality where doing nothing becomes the doorway to receiving everything. And when you finally allow yourself to rest, fully, deeply, unapologetically, life will rise to meet you with blessings you once thought you had to chase. But the truth is simple, and it has been whispering to you all along. When you become till the universe becomes obedient. When you become certain, the universe becomes generous. When you become the one who already possesses the desire within, the world has no choice but to deliver it without. You were never meant to force your way through life. You were meant to imagine, to assume, to feel, and to receive. Now you know the secret. Now you hold the power. Let the old world fall away. Step into the ease that has always been waiting. Do nothing and receive everything.